Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Morning Motivation. In the book of Hosea, God uses the prophet, his marriage, and his children to symbolically and prophetically speak to Israel. In Hosea chapter 2, after listing some of the unfaithful acts of Israel, God gives a great and wonderful promise starting at verse 14, and this will form the first of this two-part devotional. In Hosea chapter 2, verse 14 to 15 in the NIV, God promises, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope." This promise is beautiful in its expression of hope, comfort, and tenderness, showing us God's love, mercy, and faithfulness. Israel was likened to an unfaithful wife who goes after other lovers, repeatedly committing adultery, casting aside her faithful and dutiful husband who is God. Yet for all Israel's persistent unfaithfulness and false love, God promises to lead her into the wilderness, not in punishment for her sins and failures, but rather that he could be alone with her, away from all that would so easily distract her from him. What powerful imagery! God, the faithful, tender, compassionate, and loving husband, will persuade or entice Israel first to himself. This is what is meant by the word allure. In other words, God is saying that despite Israel's unfaithfulness and sin, he will not respond in like manner, but will stay true to his character, and his response will be one of compassion, mercy, and love. In the process of restoration, as he draws close to Israel, he will make room for her to respond to his love. But exactly how does he do this? He will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her there. Now, some of us think of the wilderness as a place to be shunned, a place of despair and barrenness, but not when God is there with us. God deliberately led Israel out of Egypt into the wilderness. Yet it was there in the wilderness that Israel saw God's mighty power demonstrated time and time again. It was in the wilderness that he provided for them, giving them water to drink from a rock. It was in the wilderness that God gave them daily bread from heaven, food no human being had ever eaten before. And it was despite their complaining and discontent. He fed them. He kept their clothes from wearing out. He gave them shelter and warmth. He protected them from danger. Out of all this, they learned who God was to them. And their relationship with God grew from a God that the God they only had knowledge of, to one that spoke to them directly. All this was in the wilderness, There was no distraction. There was no other help but God, and Israel learned that whatever he said he would do, that is exactly what he did. Their only requirement was to obey, and even when they disobeyed, God remained faithful to his promise. I know that this may boggle your mind. How can he be so faithful, so loving, and so kind when you've been so unkind to him? But that's just the way my Heavenly Father is. He does not deal with us according to our sin, nor repay us according to our iniquity. You may feel as though you're in a wilderness right now. Perhaps it's the consequence of sin, or perhaps you've been obedient all along, and yet here you are in an apparent wilderness. Know that God, Jehovah Shammah, is there with you, speaking tenderly to you. Hear his words of comfort and promise through this devotional today, and receive strength and encouragement. This wilderness is not to kill you or to punish you, nor is it a place of hate and disregard. Far from it. God is removing all the distractions, silencing all the other voices that compete for your attention, so that his voice of love will be the only one you hear. In your wilderness, he is speaking words of hope, not words to harm you or to condemn you. He is speaking to your future and to your purpose, establishing the plans he had for you before the foundations of this world. This is what the wilderness is about. Not a time of death, but a time of restoration, a time of renewal, a time of life. God is the only one who is powerful and strong enough to provide in the wilderness a pasture that nourishes us. Just as with the Israelites, he's the only one that can provide water for you in the desert, and who can protect you from the heat of the day and from the harsh cold of the wilderness at night. And he's also the only one who can bring joy, celebration, and dancing out of what had the potential to destroy you. Right now, you may feel that everything is working against you, sapping all your energy and frustrating you, but don't despair. God is with you. You may feel all alone in your wilderness, like you have been shut away from everybody, and friends that were once close to you seem so far away. But don't despair. God is right there with you, and he's processing you and preparing you for a new and great season of your life. I pray that even right now, you will hear the voice of God speaking tenderly to you. May Christ, who is the source of living water and the bread of heaven, give you nourishment. And may you come out of this wilderness like Jesus did, much stronger, much better, more powerful, and more anointed than when you went in. So join me next week as I go into the second part of this devotional with the topic, Valley of Trouble, the Door of Hope. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.